Hello, everybody. Hello, Mason, Carly, Robin, Mandy, Lisa, Washington, Robin. And there we go with the tech issues already. Thank you guys so much for joining me. I was going to try to set up some things before I got started, but I actually had to go get coffee. So, unfortunately, the document that I wanted to show you guys, I'll have to put it in a post. But I'm trying to figure out because I'm just one person, but I know that like we have such a great community here of people who are so like minded. And I'm trying to figure out how we can start getting the message out there that we have to start building a third party or like turning one of the current ones into something that's viable because um my whole thing here is, I think some of you probably know I talk about the DNC and my experience there all the time. I am fed the fuck up with bullshit. I'm fed up being gaslit by Republicans and Democrats and autocrats and oligarchs. And I'm tired of being manipulated and my intelligence being insulted, and I'm tired of having to sit here and watch our country and the world essentially go into flames, knowing that I could do a better job and would do a better job than these people. Like politics for me, what's happening in our lives for me is so real. And it's like sports for me. Like, I don't even know how to word it, but it's just um, watching people like Hakeem Jeffries um, have the audacity to try to word salad his way out of a question where somebody is just literally asking a question. It's just very telling when anybody gets up in arms and starts throwing a tantrum and starts acting like a little whatever. It's very telling that they know that what they're doing is not right. And I just don't believe that there is any hope in mm, in continuing what's going on right now with the Democratic Party. I think that it's important for people to just start realizing we need to just leave them behind, like just let them, burn themselves down to the ground as they are, but let them do that and stop even giving them a platform. If we just ignored them, as much as we possibly could and just pretended like they didn't exist and we didn't, ask them their opinions on things, when it comes to things that they're not going to be truthful about, if you're not able to take accountability for your actions, if you're not able to say, I stood for this, but I see that it's wrong. If you're not able to answer a fucking question when you're being asked in front of the American people, your constituents. If you're gonna cry about it and bitch about it, you probably shouldn't be in that seat. You know what I mean? You should probably go have a seat somewhere else. And these people aren't going to change because it's gotten to the point where I realize that we're being gaslit, and the Democratic establishment is not a party for the people. I don't know if it ever was, but right now it's not, because that letter that Chuck and Hakeem put out the other day stating what the American people want when it comes to ICE, that's a fucking lie. The majority of the American people via polls specifically say that they want ICE abolished, correct? So if you can't say that and you're lying and saying that we want these terms, no, we don't want these terms. Like, hold on, let me pull up this bullshit because it's ridiculous. I don't know if anybody read the letter that I think Chuck Schumer's read out loud. One second, let me pull that up. Um, here it is. So one of the things that they name in this, okay, this is dated February 4th. Actually, let me go ahead and just put the link in here if anybody wants to go ahead and read along if you haven't seen it. Leaders Jeffries and Schumer deliver urgent ICE reform demands to Republican leadership. Okay, right? One of the things that they're saying is that we come together to impose common sense reforms and accountability measures that the American people are demanding. We believe Congress needs to enact the following guardrails. Targeted enforcement. DHS officers cannot enter private property without a judicial warrant. End indiscriminate arrests and improve warrant procedures and standards. Require verification that a person is not a U.S. citizen before holding them in immigrant detention. Why don't we just stop what we've been doing for the past fucking year and let's go ahead and just start making sure that ICE agents ask for verification and ask for people's licenses? That'll solve everything, right? No masks. Prohibit ICE and immigration enforcement agents from wearing face coverings. You think that'll help? Require ID. Require DHS officers conducting immigration enforcement to display their agency, unique ID number, and last name. Require them to verbalize their ID. Like, get the fuck out of here with this bullshit. This is not what we, the people, are asking for. This is fucking bullshit. Ensure state and local coordination and oversight. Preserve the ability of the state and local jurisdictions to investigate and prosecute potential crimes. They're not even considering here, what about the states that have prohibitions against 287G agreements? What about those states? What are you even saying? Like, it's not even that they're out of touch. They literally don't care. They don't care about us. They are in on everything. All they care about is their seats and their money and their comfortability. They don't care about democracy because they don't care about human life. They don't care. It's not that they're just in their bubble on the hill. They are, and that's part of the issue, is that they don't get on the ground and talk to constituents. They don't do anything, really. I mean, sitting on the steps of the Capitol talking to people with a microphone doesn't really constitute to me like getting to know people and finding out what's going on, in the country that you live in, that you are supposed to be like helping preside over in some way. Doesn't make any sense to me. So this is all bullshit. Body cameras for accountability. We're not asking for any of this. We're asking for abolishment because it was in when ICE was enacted, it was due to the racism and everything that was blamed upon Middle Eastern brown men. And why would we want to reform something that was initially built on racism? Why would we want to reform something that the root of it was racism and hatred? Why would we want to take that as the starting point and go from there? Does that make sense? Does that make sense? I know these people understand that it doesn't make sense. Let me go through some of these comments. I'm sorry, guys. Hey, everybody who's joined: Amber, Karma, Paul, Mustafa. Hey, Great Zen. I'm so glad that you guys are here. Noam testified, Amber's saying Noam testified to the Oversight Committee months ago and responded to questioning about an illegal detention and deportation by saying, yes, but we don't agree with the law. She admitted to Congress that DHS is violating the Constitution because they don't agree with the law of the land. Congress's job is literally to make sure that the programs they're funding are abiding by the law. Right. Karma, have I followed Zev's investigation at all? A little bit here and there. I did post... I put a comment on one of his posts, but like, he doesn't know me or anything. But the the main file I was referring to that includes essay, which is still up there. And, in relation to Michael Jackson and his alleged molestation scheme and its relation to Joseph Tacopina, who is Donald Trump's former attorney as of 2024. There's other, like, factions to this trafficking. It's not just politicians, it's not just sultans and people in positions of power like that. There's a lot of people in Hollywood. These rumors have been going around for years, accusations that get completely hidden because a lot of actors and actresses who participate have the same kind of thing that Trump does. Like, they have a set amount of money and they just fucking pay people off to shut up. But it's like a known secret. And so, I was just trying to bring that to his awareness or somebody's awareness, somebody with a larger platform than me, because, like, there's just so many other factions to these files that I feel like, I just feel like it's impossible to cover them all. So I don't know. Like, I think I just I don't know how to get the information out. Like, when we find this information, like, we know Congress is overwhelmed with everything. We know that um they can't do it all. So, like, in that case, if we find things on our own, who are we supposed to report that to? If we see that nobody has talked about it and nobody's put this piece together, and we are certain that it leads to something else, like, who do we report that to? Because, if nobody else is looking into it, there's millions and millions of files in there. Like, who has the time to do that? But also, who's going to listen to the people who are digging through them? And, is like, can we get some sort of, like, collective list of like, things that they're tracking, like, "Hey, look into all the NGOs, look into these orphanages, look into," like, what do they know? So, if anybody knows if there's, like, a contact or somebody that, um, can, like, platform clues and things like that, things that just deserve to be looked into further, um, feel free to let me know because, um, it's like I don't know what to do with all this information. The DOJ is spying on Congress when they're trying to access info. Amber, that is absolutely correct. They have 4 computers, and every time they log in, of course, they're keeping track of that. And not to mention, while they're there looking at the files, there's somebody sitting next to them watching everything that they do. And I think it was Congresswoman Rebecca Ballant that was on Zerlina Maxwell's show this morning. But she had said, which, obviously it makes sense, but they said that that's the complete opposite of transparency. It doesn't make any fucking sense. You know what I mean? Like, it just doesn't make any sense. So yeah, legally they should not be able to spy on Congress and look to see what they're looking into in the files. This stuff shouldn't have even had to have been unredacted for them. And really it should be all, not the photos, not the videos and those things, but, like, whatever, I don't think they've fixed the retractions that should have been retracted, and they definitely haven't, taken out all of the victims' information and photos because those are in there. So, it seems like there's a lot of weird things going on right now. And, I just think it's really stupid to keep trying to cover it up. It's like out in the open. Everybody knows. It's like when you're trying to hide from somebody and you're jumping under the bed, but your legs are sticking out. Like, we fucking see you. Like, my God, every single country in the world right now is, like, bringing people to, account and asking them further questions. And here we are trying to hide under the bed with our legs sticking out, like, "I didn't do anything. I wasn't here," like, this is bullshit. So just I like, it just has to come down. I don't know. 4 computers, you have to make an appointment, yes. Um, I believe they're tracking us too. Oh, yeah. Same, Millie Jones, said, "I believe they're tracking us too on the DOJ website." Yeah, I took a look to see, like, what cookies they're tracking and collecting on the DOJ's website, and, definitely they're tracking everybody that looks at the website, so, um, I stopped following Ellie because no, I should promote my meeting. Oh, I'm sorry, Great Zen. I'd love to listen to your music. What kind of music? Let me scroll through some comments. Oh, Jamie, did you see Waj's questioning? Yes. Jamie, that's specifically what I am referring to, what I was referring to when I was, venting about Jeffries, is he's just such a fucking pussy ass bitch. I can't. He triggers me, like, in the world right now, because the people that trigger me, probably the people that trigger you, it changes from time to time, right? Right now, at this point of light in life, like, the 2 people that trigger me more than anybody, when I see their faces, when I have to hear their voices, when I read an article and see the name jump out at me, it just, like, something in my body, like, I don't know how to explain it, but it pisses me the fuck off. And Hakeem Jeffries is one of those people, and Stephen A. Smith is one of those people, and, I just can't stand people who refuse to hold themselves accountable and refuse to admit when they're wrong about things. I just don't understand it. It just seems too easy to me, to just be a good person. I don't understand why people are fighting so hard against good. Um, oh, I didn't know. Okay. Great, Zen. I will definitely DM you, or if you can DM me, because I will probably forget. Like, I will actually. So please, you can DM me now. His hair should be on fire. He acts like it's politics as usual. Yeah. That's the part that pisses me off, is because you're talking to us like everything around us is not on fire, and, like, we're not just being thrown into fascism at, like, full speed ahead. I don't want to hear about how you're trying to save healthcare, because people are dying already. So healthcare is not really gonna do much for people who are not here. I think we need to focus on the fascism, but if you refuse and keep refusing and keep word salads and keep, trying to skirt around issues and find ways to, just the stupidest fucking loopholes that just don't even make sense. What he said to Waj, "I don't even know what you're saying right now." Like, what the fuck do you mean? See, I can't interview people like that, because, like, I wish that motherfucker would come on my show. Like, I wish, because I would fucking eviscerate him. But that's the problem, is, like, they're not gonna talk to people, and I wouldn't be that way, if he was just honest. But, like, when you lie to me, you're insulting my intelligence straight to my face, and it pisses me the fuck off. And that's infuriating. And it's also a form of abuse and mind control, and I have been gaslit to high hell, like, my entire life, so I can spot it like that, and when it happens, like, I flip, because, "Oh, you just fucking lied to me. You just fucking insulted my intelligence." I can't. Um, the great Zen, she explained how guilty she feels that she's not able to respond. Oh, yeah, yeah, I'm sure, because I tried to, and that's another thing. I didn't wanna speak, but she seems like such a kind person, so I don't think that she would purposely, but even I she Elliot actually messaged me privately, when like, earlier-ish, when I first subscribed to her, and, just, like, reached out and thanked me. This was when she was the panicked unpaid writer, just a few months ago. And, I tried to message her about some information, some of the information that I found there too, but she didn't respond. And I know, like, probably every single person in the world right now is, like, throwing things at her. And that's the thing, is, like, we all can look at these files. Like, we don't have to wait for everybody to do it, and then it gives us more time to, like, search through and focus on other things, because there's just so much that needs to be brought to light in these. And I'm telling you, um, I was saying in, Walter's chat earlier to some of the others, but, MK Ultra is very real. MK Ultra, was a CIA experiment, that ran from 1953 to 1973. And, they essentially they were able to find ways to erase the memories, that a human has. They were able to do that through, methods such as giving them massive amounts of LSD, and then, having them doing psychic driving, which is when they will play a message over and 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 over with no breaks in between, so that, like, your mind literally will start to believe what you're hearing. And so they would do that with negative messages. I mentioned one on one of my lives, but one of the documentaries I was watching, and there's several that you can find. Well, not several, but there's a few on YouTube. If you want to look up like Project Monarch, MK Ultra, which is like the main CIA project, uh, that there was so many different programs under its umbrella, and they operated everywhere. They operated in hospitals, they operated in universities, they operated in doctors' offices. Like they operated at all of these places. And like one woman who was a patient and had to be completely like reprogrammed when she had gotten out of her abuse. Literally, like she said that she was in an infantile state. She had to relearn how to go to the bathroom. She had to relearn how to like eat food on her own. Like it does serious psychological damage. And I don't think that any of that has actually gone away, even though they supposedly stopped the project back in 1973. They're not, scientists and sadists and, those people, they're insatiable and they're going to keep trying to push boundaries, whether that be at the expense of human life or not. They want to find ways to do things that are just like humanly would you would think were impossible, and they really try to make the possible happen. And with MK Ultra, they did. And so I think my suspicion, I don't know if like there's an actual program, like an official program name, but it's just over the years with all of the and think back to the Reagan era and the 80s and um the propaganda and Fox News and all of that stuff starting to kind of like get pushed out, right? And then I find out a few months ago that Fox News is like common in Ghana. Fox News, that's like one of the main news stations that they watch out there. I'm like, why the fuck does anywhere in Africa need to be anywhere near Fox News? So the propaganda runs extremely deep. It's like very Russian-esque, and that's all a form of mind control because we see now that we're in this sense of urgency, that we're in fascism. It's like our country can't come to grips with that, but other countries, we're seeing now how disillusioned other people have been, how people from other countries will be like, "Well, why would you wanna leave? Like, it's America, why would you ever wanna leave?" And they don't understand because they've also been lied to about our country for decades. And in places like Africa and, countries in Africa, at least in Ghana, I can speak to, I don't think that they're taught very much American history or German history, things like that. And it's because they don't want information out there, trying to withhold knowledge from people, trying to withhold our power, our ability to research and think critically and look into things. They don't want that. And there's a lot of people in the Epstein files, a lot of like neurologists and scientists and, fucking techno fascists, a lot of weird shit. Bill Gates is into a lot of weird experimental shit. And I just feel like we need to maybe look into some of these things deeper, like AI programs that were performed or, like focus groups and things like that that they hold at universities and things like that. What sorts of things are they looking into and how to control? Because it happens through the brainwashing and all of that happens through propaganda. It happens through just the false spread of disinformation. And we've gotten to the point where we allow Fox News to be called Fox News, and it's anything but news. And then it's propaganda that's shown all across the world because the richest people in the world are able to buy those things and spread that bullshit information. And so this is all showing us like how much of an effect. It's not even just trafficking, like, there's so much more to it, but then on top of that, all of the trafficking, um, with Zorro Ranch now, they're looking into that. Um, for years, there have been survivors that have talked about their experiences, people that have absolutely nothing to do, as far as they know at least, with Epstein or anything, just literal, regular, for lack of a better term, people who were trafficked as children. And they talk about their experiences going through tunnels and not knowing where they were and seeing children die while they're there. Like, people have been talking about this stuff for years, and we don't listen. And like, the Epstein survivors have been claiming these things for years, and we didn't listen. And if you look in those files, there are a lot of complaints about the CIA, who again was um, the organization who was in charge of MK Ultra. Um, and I think Edward Snowden probably exposed a lot of this stuff too. I'm sure. I need to go back and look into all of that because it was so long ago. But the CIA, a lot of these survivors involved with Epstein are claiming that they are being followed by CIA. They're literally like crying out for help in emails, like, stop these people from harassing me. I had a CIA agent here do this. I had a CIA agent here actually take me to Epstein. They're like, if they were telling us the truth before, I can't imagine that these complaints aren't real and aren't happening and aren't valid. So if the CIA is involved in a cover up, which they always are, and they always try to hide it. MK Ultra, they tried to hide it. MK Ultra, they wanted to burn the files, and they didn't tell the American public about it until 2 years after it started. So it ended in 1973, and they told like the American public in 75 or something. Um, they purposely, they're liars. They're literally, it's like psyops. It sounds fucking crazy, and all of this stuff was considered conspiracy, but um, it's not. It's actually real, and these files really, really, really show us a lot if we really know what to look for, or even if you don't know what to look for. If you just think of a word, look up the word Haiti, look up the word orphanage. Look up these cases in there where orphanages and men who are running orphanages, and emails saying, "Hey, you might want to just take a look at this." It's I don't think that it's just random, like, "Hey, this guy got arrested in Haiti. You might want to take a look at this, just so you know, because people get arrested when they traffic." I think it's like, "Oh, this is one of our guys. This is one of our orphanages. This is one of our fronts. This is one of our whatever. And just so you know, heads up, they've arrested him." There are so many of that in the files. So, like, there's a million things to uncover. It just runs extremely deep, and it's all tied together, and it's just a lot. So, but I just wanna point out that, like, we have the ability to look through these files, and, I did, link the DOJ sites in the article that I had, but I actually would, now that I don't know why I did that, because I was like, well, this is the official source. So, can't say that I'm lying about this, but I guess that also then leads you to being tracked. So, check Jmail, or, other things, I guess. And then, if you have to go back to the actual DOJ site to cross check things, you can, because I've noticed a lot of things that are in that are not in Jmail are in the actual files on the DOJ site and vice versa. So I don't know exactly like how they're pulling things in on Jmail. But that's just something to note too. And then there's the Wayback Machine, which we can use to find old articles from like the 90s and shit and the early aughts. And, there's a lot of things in there too that, if we look up Epstein's name and, see these stupid fucking articles, people like the glamorous life of the sex trafficker, from Florida. He's so mysterious. And it's like, what the, like, are you okay? They were glamorizing this shit for years. And now, like, all of these people are caught like, "Oh, I wrote an article about him and, I probably shouldn't have said that 20 years ago." Yeah, you probably shouldn't have. I don't know what in your conscience made you think that writing an article and glamorizing the life of a mysterious sex trafficker with possible Mossad roots, like, why would that be okay? Uh, you know, "Hey, Jules, the CIA staged the Butler PA assassination." I wouldn't be surprised, PJ. Yeah, because none of that made sense. And also, um, none of just to mention what PJ said, um, one thing that we don't talk about a lot, but I think, I'm sure none of you have forgotten, but I think it's important to just, again, sometimes just think about, like, when I think about, you know, when JFK was assassinated, like, that was a huge deal, like, assassination attempts are like Earth, like, it really it's a big thing, and there was, like, not a peep about the Trump thing, like, even when it happened, right? I remember because I think it happened while I was working on the campaign, and I remember, like, seeing the stupid picture, and I remember watching the videos, and I'm like, it doesn't this is none of it it was all theater. It was all theater, it was all staged, that's my opinion, but, I mean, if you're anybody watching it, and then the fact that they're not harping on it, I mean, Donald Trump is like a narcissist. And I feel like if somebody actually tried to take his life, I feel like he would mention that over and over and over. I feel like that would be like his motto. Like, they tried to get me, but I'm still here, some bullshit. Like, I feel like there would just be a bigger focus on this assassination attempt. It's very weird, very curious. JFK was killed because of the war and because he was Catholic. I don't know enough about JFK, but I have been going back to The Bomb on the BBC, which is like a little mini series that you can listen to about the Cuban Missile Crisis. And it's really interesting, actually, because JFK's some sort of like great nephew or something, and Nikita Khrushchev's granddaughter narrate this, and they came together, and it's kind of interesting to see that, like, Kennedy and Khrushchev back in the '60s, and then now you've got, their grandchildren and carrying on the legacy and talking about the Cuban Missile Crisis. Um, okay, thank you, great Zen. I will definitely take a look at your DM when I get off of here. Notice how it just disappeared from the news. So, right, news media didn't dig into it. It was so weird. It's like Donald Trump, who tries to be like the most popular person in the world and he wants his, it doesn't matter if it's bad publicity, if it's, he wants his name out there. So for him not to keep harping on the fact that somebody literally tried to take his life is just very odd. It makes absolutely no sense to me. Um, so I didn't even get to what I wanted to really talk about. I'll try to be quick. The main thing I wanted to kind of start to talk about somehow, and I feel like I need all of you and and then some. I don't know how everybody else feels about the fact that we need a third party and we need another like viable, large party, not an independent who is going to steal votes, but a party where people actually fit in and a party that actually is for the people. Like, I think it's just in my head, and again, this is just my thoughts. I don't know if I'm right, but in my head, and I'm upset because they still haven't taken account for their mistakes on the campaign and how us Black folks and brown folks were treated on the campaign, and how they tried to silence us and how they tried to lie and say that they were going to put out an autopsy. And there's a lot of things that I already I can tell you, like, I can raise my hand and tell you a lot of things that went wrong. Like, just ask me. I was told, we might have a chance to be a part of that, and then Ken Martin decided we're actually not going to be transparent. We're gonna do the same thing as Republicans and just sweep it under the rug again. So I'm here and, I've been speaking out against their lies and the fact that, they really are not for the American people, and I just feel like it's not even that they're just not, like, coherent and consciously with us. I think they are actively working against us because the things that they are doing and showing us are not actions that we would see from a party who actually cares about people. So you can't tell us that you care about us, but then only some of us, like, we're going to participate in voting for the SAVE Act, or we're actually, we don't agree on everything, but we are going to agree that, we do want to fund ICE even more. That's actively working against our best interests. And I feel like people need to understand that. There's no hope for that party as a whole, at least not right now. I think it could be reformed one day, but, um, I feel so strongly about the fact that we need a third party, at least. And I mean, I think we need more than that. But right now, I feel like we have to start building that while we have the momentum, while our lives are at stake as we're heading into the deepest parts of fascism because we haven't even brushed the surface yet. Um, Arturo Dominguez, I don't know if you guys don't follow him, please do, because he reports on a lot of information in South America and Central America. And um, he, oh my gosh, I forgot what I was even saying with that. I'm so sorry. I literally just lost my train of thought. Um, but basically, you follow him. Yeah, he's great. Um, but essentially, my point is that they don't care about us. Like Maya Angelou said, when they show you who they are the first time, and I'm guilty of giving people a second and a third and a fourth, because for a while I really was duped and working with the DNC. I think having the experience, I was thinking about this yesterday. I feel like working on it was unprecedented because we've never had a transition like that happen, especially so late in the game. And then for that to happen and for the new candidate to be a Black woman was something that, you know, none of us have ever experienced. So there was a lot of joy for us when that happened, and people were ready to get to work. We felt empowered. We felt emboldened because the shit we had been experiencing so far has been like, because, essentially it was for Biden at first, and then the switch came, and it just and I know you all saw it. I know you saw the energy. I know that you saw the crowds. I know that you saw it all. I was a part of that. I I understand how momentous, and just know that we felt that inside. We felt that joy. We felt that hope. We felt that excitement, and um we couldn't believe that we were about to start pushing forward and trying to make a Black woman president, um, Black and Indian woman president. And um, eventually it just became a sour situation because people started to not like our joy. Um, People that know better, Black women in particular, people who were smarter than many of the folks on this campaign that were, um, people that fail up. There's a lot of people that fail up. A lot of great people also. And Dale, I see you in here. A lot of great people that we worked with, but a lot of people that failed up and just made me realize actually how capable I was, because I was like, no, this is not right. So, um, the fact that the DNC just hides everything, the fact that they sweep things under the rug, the fact that they are actively voting against our best interests, against our lives, against our freedoms, and not all of them are doing that, but a lot of them are doing that. And when you have the people at the top, like Chuck Schumer and Hakeem Jeffries, who are bullshitting through interviews and giving stupid fucking letters asking for DHS officers to just start identifying themselves. And then maybe things will calm down and escalate, and not even address the fact that people have been murdered, and not even address all of the violence and chaos that's literally happening as you're standing up here reading this stupid fucking letter that nobody in America is really asking for, okay? Because let's be real. The American people want ICE abolished. There is absolutely no need to keep an organization that was built and founded on racism and reform it. We can start over with something else. We can have immigration enforcement like the INS. I don't know how that used to operate because I was younger, but like we can have something else that is actually founded on actually trying to just make sure that our borders are secure and make sure that, things are happening the right way. There doesn't have to be a torture aspect. We don't have to throw people in detention. Let's just, if they start showing IDs, and, if they just start asking people, actually just coming out and asking if they're a citizen instead of just grabbing them and taking them, just ask first. That'll solve everything. No, it won't. You fucking hate us. You don't fucking care. Chuck Schumer took Jeffrey Epstein's money and then he donated it when he got called out to some organizations that are, for like sexual trafficking awareness or whatever. That's a slap in the fucking face. He knew. He took Harvey Weinstein's money, the fucking Hollywood predator. And then when he got called out, he gave it back. He takes AIPAC money. Hakeem Jeffries takes AIPAC money. These are organizations that are actively working against our best interests because we don't support the killing and cleansing or genocide of human people. And that shouldn't be a hard thing to come against. So these people know what AIPAC supports. They too support this belief that Palestinians don't matter. It's all about corporate interests. They're not thinking about the displacement of human beings. They're not thinking about the fact that how many children who are alive are amputated and disabled because of all of the bombs. They're not thinking about any of that. What they're thinking of a future without the people. And that's essentially what all of these fucking oligarchs and technocrats and whatever the fuck they are, that's it's a population control thing. You notice that there's a theme here. Turning humans into biofuel. There's a theme of like a lack of empathy in these people, right? They're not okay. Like they're mentally unwell. Okay, you have people who want to get rid of humans. You feel like the world would be better without humans? How would you survive? How does that make any sense? Why would you want to live on an empty earth? I don't understand these things. Like, you're not right in the head, but there's a common theme of trying to get rid of people. COVID was a fucking genocide, in my opinion, and I don't feel like people talk about that enough. But I remember it because I started preparing when I first heard about it. I did not wait for Donald Trump to sound the alarm. It was months after I had started getting masks and getting water and canned goods before he finally admitted that COVID was a problem. People had been dying and it got out of control. And you know what? A lot of that, I'm sure millions of deaths could have been prevented if we had a president who actually told us the truth instead of waiting a little bit for it to infect the communities that are usually subjected to these things most, right? That's a fucking genocide. It's cleansing. And everything that they do is a form of cleansing. And I when you have Democrats that are actively working and voting with these people and siding with these people and working with these people and taking money from these people, those people are not for us. And so we have to start building something new. And that's why I'm wanting you guys to help. Like, I don't know how we start getting the word out about it. It's not that, I think that we are going to be able to build this huge third party in 2 years. Okay. Like, the very first thing we need to do is focus on elections, on our local elections, and making sure that those are going to be free and fair. Talking to our local election commissions, volunteer to poll watch, volunteer to work at the polls, or sign up to work at the polls. It's not much, but I mean, it's, for the greater good of election integrity and the future of democracy. So if you can, see if you can, because you have to kind of sign up early for those things if you want to poll watch or if you want to be involved. It can't be, you can't like try to do it right before the election. It's usually like a few months before. So I would start looking into those things if you can. And we, start looking locally and state like into our voting systems. What machines are we using? Is there any hidden legislation that they're working on behind the scenes that they're trying to pass before November so that it'll disenfranchise us more? Those are the things that I feel like we have to really focus on. And I don't believe for a second, that's why I'm telling you, because I don't know how these things work. I don't know who is essentially in charge of election integrity. I don't know if it's like the governor or who, but I'm not relying on anybody to do that. I have questions like, I want to know, where did this machine come from? Okay, like, I think that we should all have a right to those answers, right? So if we go to our DMV or election commission or office, whatever it is in your state, we should be able to push for that information. Um, get friendly with the people that work there. Find out if you're able to poll watch, if you're able to volunteer at the polls in any way, even just bringing water and snacks. Not if you're in Georgia, because I don't want you to get arrested. But if you are able to help in any way, I think that's the most important thing right now, is because they are actively rigging the elections right now. And I don't want to wait until October to find out what exactly they did. We have to get on the offense and start looking into it now, because they, this is their life. They cheat, they lie, they steal. They've been doing this for years. So this just should be part of the plan. Like, there should already be election integrity people, looking into these things every single year, just because this is so common. And we're not doing that. So I don't know. I think it's going to be up to us. I wouldn't trust my governor. I wouldn't trust my local, because there's so many fucking racists implanted everywhere. So I don't trust the little fucking, the guy that's, been living in Alabama for 70 years and he's poll watching and he looks like I just don't like, I don't trust that. I I want to look into things myself, because there's ways that I'm sure things can be rigged even at the local level. And, I just think we need to know exactly what's happening. Oh, hey, Shane. Let me try to go back and look at some of these. Yes, your weirdo friend, PJ, thank you for mentioning her. She is amazing as well. Or sorry, I apologize. They are amazing. Um, and they have so much. I would love to have them on here, because there's so much happening, but like I just our lives are at stake right now. So making sure that our elections are preserved, but also organizing within our communities, because that's all like part of it as well. Like, getting to know our neighbors. If ICE comes to our neighborhoods, we don't want to be walking outside of our house and looking at people across the street and like wondering, are they gonna, are they with us or against us? I don't want to know. I don't want to find that out like when they're in my neighborhood. I want to know ahead of time who are the allies, who are the safe spaces, what can we do to organize, and your weirdo friend is, so knowledgeable and has so much amazing information, the daisy chain. And, I know I haven't had time to even look into it, but it's like top of my mind because I'm worried about myself and my children and all of that, right? But like, yeah, there's just not enough time in a day to soak up everything. But I really need to do that. And I hope everybody else does too, because organizing right now and finding out who our allies are, who our people are in our community is only going to make us stronger. Um, and so I I feel like, those are the things that we have to focus on the most, right now, is, like, the right here and now, making sure that we're safe, making sure we're informed, making sure that our elections locally, what we're able to look over, we're looking into and keeping an eye on things. And if you see anything in the news locally, if you hear anything like, "Oh, this, precinct said that they had an issue with a voting machine," like, ding, 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 look it up, look it up, look it up, because shit's gonna get crazy. Crazier, I should say. Um, but then after that, I I believe that in order to build this third party, or what have you, or not even necessarily build. I think for me, my thoughts are that I feel that we all have to somehow collectively latch on to, I guess, for lack of a better term, a party that we feels like aligns mostly with us because I do feel like it would be easier to make something viable that's already has some infrastructure. So, yeah, I mean, so far, the Working Families Party (WFP) is who I feel like I align with the most. And I know in my state, they said if they get 600 signatures, um, they can actually be a viable party. So instead of being unaffiliated, I could register as part of the Working Families Party, which is part of the viability. So, um, I don't know if they're hiring right now. I'm sure they need volunteers. I mean, we've got all kinds of elections coming up. So I know that they're working and I know that their presence is becoming much more widely known. And I think that's a great thing. Mom Donnie was endorsed by the Working Families Party. Adelita Grijalva was endorsed by the Working Families Party, and they just have some really good folks there that really seem like they care and are really focused on truly making sure that life is better and equitable and equal and free for everybody. And so if we're able to somehow like collectively, um, yeah, Shane, a big part of that is that they've convinced us that we need money, but we actually don't need money. Yeah, that's very true. Because we've been seeing, especially lately, because people are finally starting to wake up and people are not happy. We're seeing that a lot of these races, you hear a lot of these constituent or a lot of these people who are running for, off cycle elections and things like that. Um, they are uh, like they're progressive. They are endorsed by the Working Families Party, and um, we see that a lot of them were no like, we didn't know who they were, and people right now want truth and decency and people who are not going to lie to them and people who are not going to gaslight them. Like, we are fucking pissed off and tired of our intelligence being insulted, and people want real people, and I feel like that's where the Working Families Party aligns. And so if we are able to, like, collectively start putting our efforts, focusing our efforts, like, don't think about the Democrats, don't look at the Democrats, like, I think that, I would love to be able to poach, AOC and Elizabeth Warren and Bernie and Al Green and, the real ones, the Jasmine Crockett's. Those are the ones that we need helping lead, Mom Donnie. these people with voices that, the Working Families Party is endorsing, but their own, real big party, the Democrats, aren't even endorsing. And again, that's another way to see that they're not for us when they won't even endorse their own people. They're against, not just neutral. They're actively working against us, and they do not care about us or our well-being. The billionaires are starting to back moderate Democrats all across the country, right? But we have so much power. Um, we have so much power because a lot of those people that don't have those names, if we hear somebody on, like, I don't know how many people listen to Progress on Sirius or who have Sirius, but I listen to Zerlina Maxwell in the mornings a lot. Dino Vidala. But Zerlina, oh, she always has such great information on there. If I hear an interview, and even here on Substack too. My friend Dale, oh, thanks, Karma. I'm gonna end soon. My friend Dale's on Substack, and he has a wealth of information as well. But we don't need corporate money. When people hear that, what other people want to do for you, when people hear that the people running for office are tired of what's been there, they aren't the same old establishment Democrats. Like, they're just normal people, for lack of a better term, who just believe in, like, human rights and things like that. Like, they're super radical, I guess. But when we hear those people, like, we cling on to them, and they garner a lot of national support, even if they're in, like, tiny little elections in Tennessee that nobody knows about, right? So just elevating all of these voices locally. If you hear somebody local to you is running for office and you think that they are a great person, interview them yourself here on Substack, or have them, talk to somebody on Substack, ask somebody to reach out to them so that we can elevate their platforms, because we don't need corporate money, and we are so powerful with the knowledge that we have right now that they're scared. And I just want everybody to understand how much knowledge and power there is in learning and using, our thoughts in our brains and researching and looking into things. And we can make a lot of change. And I think that, starting, to make a viable third party has to be part of that change, because it's just the two-party system is not sufficient. And if we're able to make sure that the elections, if we're able to get past everything that they're trying to do, if we are able to somehow overcome that, if we are able to get through an election without him claiming, pulling insurrection act or something, like, I don't know, but if we're able to get through that, Democrats and Republicans, like, that cannot be the only option anymore. It is not working. And I feel like it's just time to start building something new. The future needs something new. Our children need something new. I don't want my son 20 years from now telling me, going to vote for a Republican or a Democrat. I hope that we've evolved enough to realize that it's okay to have progressives in office, and it's okay to do things. Like, it's okay. The future has to go on. If these people aren't going to live forever, I don't understand why they try to stay in their seats, because don't you want to enjoy your life? Don't you want your life to continue being better? And I just feel like when you allow leaders and people who aren't afraid to speak the truth and who aren't afraid to actually try to push for change and tax billionaires and put pedophiles in jail, when you have people that are actually trying to do good things, then everybody is going to do better. And, it's just this, we're not going to get the kind of change that we want from this democratic establishment. They are not going to be the ones to get us out of fascism, because we're here now, partly because of them. So, I'm going to post like I made like a little graphic or whatever, but I do want, once I post this, I do want everybody to comment if you can, and just give me your ideas on how we can start to, like, build this movement to start pushing people to, build onto what's already there and build something bigger, because we have to defeat fascism, and we're not gonna do it with what we have right now. I want to stop giving them any authority, stop giving them any there's no hope right now with this current DNC establishment. There is no hope. There is no hope because they are not on our side. And, just primarying everybody, I don't think is going to be enough. We need more options. We need people that represent us right now. And as we move into the future, there are going to be other factions of people who want more things that possibly the Working Families Party can't provide. So we have to keep building things that evolve for the people who live here and for the people who are going to be caring for the earth. We have to do those things. And we should have had another party way before this, but we're here now. And I feel like this is the way, but I don't know. I know, the organizing and getting everybody on the same page is the hardest part because, we can't have a movement unless it's a real collective movement. And how do we start doing that and stop giving this false hope to people who don't deserve it? Stop, don't, I don't know anybody that gives money to DNC anymore, but if you are, don't, okay? If there's a specific candidate or something that you like, make sure the money is going straight to their campaign, but don't like the DNC for what? No. Put that money into the Working Families Party. Put that money into something else so that we can have something that works for everybody. But, I don't know how we start that. But I'm going to post my little graphic or whatever in the post when I post this live. Thank you guys so much for joining me. I have 61 people here. That's amazing. And yes, David Hogg is great. It pisses me off because everything that he's saying is everything that I've been saying, and I worked on the fucking campaign. It's like, and they threw him off. So it just goes to show you that like they hate us. They hate us. But anyway, thank you guys so much for joining. I hope that we can continue this conversation. I'm obviously not going to stop talking about it because I can't stop parroting it every single day. I just feel like it's time to move forward and just leave them in the dust. I just don't even want to give them life. I don't want to give them air. I don't want to give them any attention. They're useless. They're feckless. They're worthless. And I just want to ignore them and move on because they've fucked us over for so long and they don't deserve our support anymore. So all donations through Act Blue go to the DNC. Act Blue is not just for the DNC. Act Blue is for a lot of organizations and nonprofits use Act Blue as their platform, but it's not. I wouldn't go to like dnc.org and, I wouldn't answer any of those stupid text messages. I don't know if any of you guys get them from Hakeem Jeffries. Hey, Natasha. It's like, why when this man triggers me more than ever, like more than any time ever in my life, like I can't stand this man. And I've never gotten a single like text message from Hakeem Jeffries. It's always like, hey, it's Kamala. Hakeem Jeffries. Hey, Natasha. And I know it's like obviously not targeted, but it's like just funny. Like, really? Like, it's ironic. Like, I hate you so much. And now, I'm getting stupid fucking text messages asking for $5. No, bitch. Get your $27 a person from somewhere else, even though most of it's coming from APAC. Like, whatever. Anyway, sorry, had rant because he pisses me off. Thank you guys for joining. Feel free to PM me if you guys have anything that you wanted to tell me or wanted to say or reach out, and I will try to post this shortly. But thank you guys for joining, and I'll talk to you soon.